Welcome into the Warzone Sports Network. I am your host, Tony Tucker. I am joined by Mike on the mic and Joe Morley Sports, and we are going to be breaking down the AFC South. We're going to be doing a little preview and predictions from everybody here at the Warzone Sports Network. So please go ahead, jump in those comments. Let us know where you agree and disagree. And we're probably going to be starting in Houston. And you got a problem, Houston? It's your football.
On the radio, coming to your locale. Got into the third round, better bring the smoke now. Step into the war zone. 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 Friday night war zone. Friday night war zone. Step into the 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 war zone. Friday night war zone. Friday night war zone.
Already starting off strong, Tony. Cut you off.
Did you step on Houston's problem joke that was everybody saw coming?
Everybody was gonna be like, "Oh, here comes it. Houston, we have a problem." Joke from Tony Tucker.
Yes. Oh man,
I saved your career right there, Tony.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't do a lot of writing of material before this show, so it didn't have much going through the brain while I was doing the introduction, but welcome in if it's your first time here at the Warzone Sports Network. Whether you're with us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, follow, like, comment, reach out, let us know about collaborations. Jay the Plug in the house with a little bit of let's go. Like I said at the opening, we are doing AFC South previews. I don't think I missed anything, any information. How we doing on the little banner outside?
We're starting off with the Jaguars, Tony.
We are starting off with the Jags, who finished an abysmal 1-15, right? When I think about the Jaguars, I think about like the fact that they got Tevor Lawrence and how they got him. Right? Like last year, watching this like battle of incompetency between the Jags and the Jets, and then the Jets proved to be more incompetent by actually succeeding. If that made sense. I don't know if that fully is graspable, but that's the way that I break it down for myself mentally. What do you guys got on the Jaguars here?
The Jaguars failed harder, Tony. I mean, the key departures here, and I'll go over them here for the graphics, and we'll get Joe's input as well. Obviously, you see wide receivers. This was their wide receiver core last year, plus Laviska Shenault and plus DJ Chark. But Laviska Shenault, somewhat breakout, showing that he can be a serviceable wide receiver too, led to the Jaguars deciding to let Keelan Cole head to the Jets. D.D. Westbrook is in Minnesota now, and Chris Conley went to the Houston Texans, their division rivals. So those are the key guys they lost, basically their entire wide receiver core. Replacing them with Laviska Shenault, of course. But they picked up, and this is something that I like, a little sneaky free agency pickup that people haven't been talking about too much. Marvin Jones off the Detroit Lions. No, Marvin Jones isn't going to come out and put up 1,500 yards. We all understand that. But for a rookie quarterback, how important it is to have a security blanket like Marvin Jones is a big deal. And I think that he is a great replacement and is going to put up more production than all three of these guys combined.
And one of the additions you didn't put on there was Urban Meyer, right? Some people would consider that a key addition. I don't know.
True.
There is something about the Jacksonville team that I'm still not buying this year. There's a reason they're on a 15-game losing streak, and I wonder when that streak is actually going to end, because that's going to carry over this year, right? But I don't know if these additions – I mean, the departures, you're like, okay, nothing major, right? Okay, bye. But the additions, are they really big enough additions? I know everybody is in love with Tevor Lawrence. He was the number 1 overall pick. Everybody's loved him since junior high or whatever you guys want to say. But this is time to shine. This is when it matters, NFL time. It could be like the rest of these guys that are all hyped up and then come in and do nothing.
I don't buy that. Tevor Lawrence is ready for this. He's built for it. I think he's going to be just fine. Whether or not he leads them to multiple Super Bowls is another conversation, but I do think that he'll play winning football, and the Jags will be better than I think advertised. They're definitely going to win more than one game. Like if I'm taking the over under, I'm crushing the over on the Jags winning more games this season. I like Mike's pick of Marvin Jones though. That is something that I think that a lot of these rookie quarterbacks don't necessarily have is a guy who's that reliable and that sort of consistent and ready to play. Like, and he's not a me guy either. Like, it wasn't like he was demanding or, kind of a head case when he was in Detroit, played behind Kenny Golladay or played next to whoever it was. He's never been the guy in Cincinnati, but he is and can be the guy in spurts. So I really like that pickup. I mean, you lose all those wide receivers, you got to fill them up somewhere. So
yeah, it's really about consistency and being a security blanket for Trevor Lawrence. The guys that the Jacksonville Jaguars want to break out and be their wide receivers of the future are Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark, obviously, especially DJ Chark. This is his year, right? Year 3 or year 4 for him. He's got to break out and have 1,000 yards this year. He's got to have 1,200 yards, in my opinion, this year. Now that they kind of have a competent quarterback, well, at least we think Trevor's going to be competent. Joe, I will tell you this. This Jaguars team is going to be much improved from last year. That 15-game winning or losing streak is going to end, and it's going to start with a 2-game winning streak to open the season versus the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. But we'll get into predictions later. We each chose a highlight player. Our fourth host isn't here yet, so we're going to pull up the graphic. His guy's on here, but his guy matches up with Tony Tucker's guy, so Tony Tucker can cover for him. But here are our highlight players. Tony, you can go first. Talk about DJ Chark and why you chose him.
I really chose him because he's had success with Gardner Minshew and Blake Bortles and, whatever other sort of less than adequate quarterback that they've put under center the last couple of years. Don't get me wrong. I love Gardner Minshew as much as the next fan, right? He's entertaining and he is like a serviceable backup. He shouldn't be your starter. Like Trevor Lawrence will come into the league, I believe, already much further ahead than him just based on his God-given ability. So I'm excited to see DJ Chark get to play with a guy of that sort of talent and caliber. Now, like him, I just want Chark to stay healthy. Just get out there. The name is built for branding too. Like if he pops, he really pops. Like Chark is going to be, it's easily like, it's an individual name. It's not like Smith or Johnson or Thomas or something like that. Like it's Chark. There's no other Chark. Yeah. Wait, did you mean Bob Chark? No, there are no other Charks. So he will get like prime real estate on the marquee as DJ Chark.
Did you mean baby Chark?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get copyrighted.
I like it. And he's wearing that sweet 17. Happen to have a soft spot in my heart for that number. I'll go next since I'm next in the graphic, and I think mine kind of ties into Joe's. I picked Josh Allen. Last year had a rough year, injury-filled year, but his rookie year, he kind of busted out a little bit. He had a 10-sack season. And the Jacksonville Jaguars were at their best in their franchise history when Saxonville existed. They are nowhere near that. And if Josh Allen doesn't come out and have 10, 12, 14 sacks this year, this defense is going to be awful again. No matter how many Shaquille Griffins or no matter how many Tyson Campbells you draft, it doesn't matter how many DBs you get if you don't have a pass rush. So Josh Allen's a key player for me for this defense. And in my opinion, if he struggles again, make or break for this defense. They're going to be awful without him.
Yeah.
Joe, you chose
me to go with mine, huh?
Jack
Griffin coming over from Seattle. And we all know what Seattle does on their defense. At least last year, their defense wasn't anything, but they're usually known for a great defense. Griffin was a third-round pick in 2017 for Seattle. He's actually done pretty good over his career. Last year, he had 3 interceptions. That's something that I think the secondary needs, especially with the young C.J. Henderson over there on the other side. Somebody that's going to be around that could kind of mentor this secondary, right? Get them on the right track. Tell C.J. Henderson how to be a professional, how to get to move and move his hips right. So I'm liking it. He only has 6 career interceptions, so 3 of them last year. But I like Griffin, and I think adding that little – he only has like 3 years, but it's a little bit of veteran presence there that's going to help Jacksonville. And I think that's what they were lacking just a little bit last year. I mean, anytime a losing team happens, you have a losing season like you do, usually it's because there's not a lot of leadership in that locker room.
They could also bring in Carl Weathers because it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. Joe knows what I'm talking about. Happy Gilmore reference, everybody. I like all those, and I'm glad you guys picked defensive players in an offensive league because I don't care about the defense until like November. So appreciate you guys for bringing in a little diversity to that.
But to go back a little bit on what we were talking about, and I thought maybe he was going to be one of the key players that we were going to talk about, is like Mike said, Marvin Jones, when he brought up him earlier as one of the key additions. And when you actually think of Marvin Jones and like you go, oh, Marvin Jones, the Detroit Lions, but you look at his stats from last year. I mean, dude had 76 receptions, 978 yards, 9 TDs. So bring that over, give that to a rookie quarterback along with the two good running backs, because now in this league you have to have 2 good running backs, right? And that's what they have. Jacksonville's improved, but I don't know if they're improved a lot.
Yeah, I like to see them improve this year a ton. And when I say a ton, anything more than 1 win, 2 wins is doubling their production of last year.
Yeah.
But I think really it's more of seeing individual growth amongst the young players on the team. And also, let's see what Urban Meyer can do as a coach. If he can sneak out a really nice win against a really good team, that would put a lot of faith from both the players and the fan base of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know a few, like 2.
From one coach we're excited about to a coach we are not excited about. Let's move on to the Texans and David Culley. Transition of the year. Here we go. So we got the Houston Texans, and this place is just a disaster zone. It is the steamiest pile of what I just don't even know what's going on. I feel bad for Tyrod Taylor, but I'm also excited for him at the same time. Like, I want him to be able to get a chance to get back under center. I love the T-Mobile days up there in Buffalo. So this is just one of those situations where I cannot see this panning out for the good in any direction I tried to spin it in my head looking at their schedule. Mike, let's hit some of their key departures, which is everybody.
Yeah, as you see next to the departures,
Michael,
little
did
mean.
Michael freeze? Did I freeze?
What? I think you're frozen, Tony. Can you hear me, bro?
Hit those key departures, Mike.
Hello?
Mike!
Go ahead, Mike.
Am I still here?
You are.
Okay,
key departure.
Jeez, I don't know what happened. I had to remove
This
myself.
is what you get with the
Anyways,
live.
you see,
live
when you
show,
do live shows, you see the meme next to the departures. One of my favorite movies ever, even though it was filmed before 2000. I rarely watch movies filmed before 2000. Great Scott! They lost J.J. Watt, Hall of Fame level player, all-time great for their franchise, probably out of every player to ever touch the field as a Texan. And then a very consistent long-term linebacker in, I think his first name's Bendrick. Don't want to mess it up. So just McKinney. People know him. He went to the Dolphins. And Will Fuller, obviously, he's a receiver that hasn't been on the field, but he's a talented guy. He's a fast guy. When he is on the field, he's a weapon for whoever's playing quarterback for the Houston Texans this year. He's gone. And then they lost their center. How do you lose your center? Also on top of all of these guys, and Nick Martin, he heads to Las Vegas to fill the Rodney Hudson role. That's another rant for another time. And then I got question marks next to Deshaun Watson because who the heck knows what's going on with him. Now, when you look at the additions, you see the subtractions, right? Maybe all their star players. They don't bring in star players. So I'm a little confused. David Culley's hired. We're not too high on his hiring. Philip Lindsay's coming into a Mark Ingram and David Johnson filled RB room. What's going on there? Tyrod Taylor's going to be playing quarterback. Give him kind words. He seems like he's an awesome dude, but also seems like he's kind of past his time as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And he's going to have to start this year if Deshaun Watson can't play. Him or Davis Mills. Choose your poison. They got Shaq Lawson, another guy just never reached his potential. And Malik Collins, he's decent, but nothing special. These are the key guys. They brought in a bunch of other random people also. These are just kind of the key ones that they brought in to replace the talent that they kind of lost. You saw they were 4-12 last year. I think this team is going to be worse than 4-12 this year.
They've also brought in, I don't know if you had Marcus Cannon on there. I didn't see Marcus Cannon. They traded for him from the Patriots. He set out last year or was injured last year, and he was traded early in the offseason from the Patriots to the Texans. They have him listed as the right guard. So this is the one thing Houston has going for him, Mike. When I look at Houston, you're not, like you said, you're not looking at all these superstars. You're not seeing a lot of big names. But the one thing you see is a good offensive line, and that's one thing they put money into, or they tried to build, and then running backs. So they're going to go old school. And the wide receivers they drafted Nico Collins. They have they still have Kiki Cutie. They have the Chris Conley. Guys that you might know that might still be in your head from other teams. But these are like grinders, right? And like when you make fun of the Texans, they're bringing in everybody. Well, they're not bringing in big names, but they're bringing in people that love football and grind and grind and grind. And that's why it's kind of hard to predict what this team is going to do. One, we don't like the damn coach. The coach probably shouldn't be a head coach. He got the job. It is what it is. Congratulations, you got your job, but you probably shouldn't be a head coach somewhere. But the players that they're bringing in are just straight grinders, and they might be using that New England tactic because that's where the GM's from, right? He came from New England and thinking they could just plug and play anybody. But it's going to be a long season for the Houston Texans and their fans, especially if Deshaun Watson's not playing.
Yeah, and here's the thing about going with that strategy. In order to run a New England Patriots-style offense that's going to be successful, very conservative, a lot of power plays, a lot of play action. One, you need a quarterback that can manage that. Can Tyrod Taylor do that? I think that he can, but not at a high enough level to really put up a ton of points. And two, the big one, who's on their defense?
Yeah.
And
I think the secret is you got to take the playbook and you just got to go through it, then close it, and then hand that thing to Tom Brady. That's the secret that New England had over there, was just to give the playbook to Tom Brady. We'll figure it out later. Him and Josh McDaniels.
I like that.
Tyrod Taylor, not the guy to be compared to Tom Brady, but I think he could be a leader. He's had success in this league. I thought I was kind of optimistic for him with the Chargers last year before the shanking, but we'll see what happens with them. I mean, I'm sorry. Is there a better way to describe that? Whatever happened? I don't
think Mike got that. He said shanking, Mike. That means your doctor, the Chargers team doctor, stuck a needle and shanked him.
I got it. I just have such mixed feelings about that event. Yes, I don't want anyone to get punctured in the lung.
I don't either.
But just
I think you guys are sleeping a little bit. I think you guys are sleeping a little bit on that quarterback position. There's one guy in there that could kind of make some noise that's not named Tyrod Taylor, and it's not named Davis Mills, and his name is Jeff Driscoll.
Oh, a little Jeff
okay.
Driscoll love. All right, let's get away from that topic and move on to the highlight players.
All right, I'll start this one off because I got Phillip Lindsay. I'm a big fan of Phillip Lindsay because he is one of those guys that is just all heart. You know, like the little callback to Necessary Roughness, the little Australian rugger. He just gets it done in a way that's like, it's kind of sneaky good. You know, even when he's running the ball up the middle, he'll still get 3, 4, 5 yards. He can catch the ball. So I like the opportunity when it's given to him because I don't necessarily know how much the other guys have left that would sort of be the former 3-down backs like Ingram or David Johnson or, you know, whoever else is there. So I'm choosing Phillip Lindsay because I wasn't going to take Davis Mills' knee brace. I mean, like, my options were pretty limited.
Yeah, I like that take. I mean, I feel like Phillip Lindsay offensively is their best weapon. It's hard to judge because you got a bunch of unproven guys at wide receiver other than Brandon Cooks. And then you have a bunch of proven old veterans at running back. So I don't know what the dynamic is going to be and what they're going to lean on more. But I chose Justin Reed. I feel like he's the little bit of a bright spot for the defense, and he's been committed to Houston for the last couple of years. He really has a shot to have a breakout year and stand out, even though the Texans are going to be absolutely terrible. If he can stand out, he can earn himself some money this year. He's going to get a lot of playing time, and he's going to be dynamic. He's going to be coming down in the box. He's going to be covering deep. He's going to be doing everything. Not even. I don't know if he's a top 10 safety in the league, but definitely a guy that's maybe slightly above average. So hopefully he has a good year this year as a free safety for the Texans. Joe, some more running game.
I'm going with Tony. I'm with Tony on the Phillip Lindsay. When you're looking at the Texans, there's not much to pick from. There's not a lot of names that you want to be like, oh, that guy is somebody to watch. They have some talent at the wide receiver position. Today they traded Randall Cobb, so he's gone. But they have Cooks. They have Collins, the guy I mentioned earlier. They made a trade for Anthony Miller. But when you're looking at it, Phillip Lindsay is the one that stands out because he, like Tony said, out of the 4 running backs, they brought in a bunch of running backs, right? They got David Johnson there. They got Mark Ingram. They got Rex Burkhead. And then along with Phillip Lindsay, and you're like, which one of these guys are going to break out? And Lindsay feels like Tony said, the only one left with a little bit of gas in him, and that is hungry to fight for his job. So I'm going with Philip Lindsay as well. I should have, and like I've already mentioned, I like their offensive line, and they're going to be committed to running. And why not go with the guy that's hungry and ready to go?
Hungry hippos. Alex Robson said no one deserves to be his highlight player, so that's why he has a blank with an X through it. Hopefully, Alex can grace us with his presence to explain that choice later on in the stream.
I like it. Bold take, Cotton. It's good stuff from Alex there.
He would have been like this. Nobody.
Okay. All right. Nobody saw this coming. Well, everybody saw it. We talked about it all summer long. When Julio Jones ended up on the Tennessee Titans, which are our next team to talk about, get into here. And the Titans are one of those teams where had I done this prediction a couple of months ago, like pre-draft or whatever, like I saw some people with their way early, I would have had the Titans much lower, which we'll get to my prediction in the end. But I think that they've made some moves that I kind of like better. And it starts with the Julio one. If we can get the graphic up of the departures and the additions here, like I do think they lost some stuff on offense, but they brought in a stud. Mike, go through this. Talk to the people about this one.
Yeah, Titans won the division on the tiebreaker last year over the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be a very tight race again this year. I think everyone's expecting similar results, either a 1-win difference or a tiebreaker type of situation like this. As far as departures, you lose Arthur Smith. He got hired, so he's no longer going to be your offensive coordinator. We'll see how much of the offense was thanks to him this last year. Corey Davis leaves, another offensive weapon for them. Was their solid wide receiver 2, but I think they kind of upgraded with who their wide receiver 2 is nowadays. And then they also lost Jonnu Smith, another weapon on offense. And then Adoree Jackson leaves in free agency. He's a New York Giant now. So, I mean, they lost some firepower when you really look at it, but what they brought in was some more firepower. They really kind of made their strengths super strengths. They brought in Julio Jones to pair with AJ Brown, my bad. And then they brought in Bud Dupree to try and help out this pass rush. It's been lackluster the last couple of years. Drafted Caleb Farley, obviously, in the first round. Janoris Jenkins coming in to be a veteran presence in this secondary. We'll see what he's got left in the tank. And Brian Bolster requested that Dylan Radones, who was, I believe, drafted in the 3rd round to be on this graphic because he's got to come in and start as a 3rd-round offensive line rookie this year for his Tennessee Titans. So I think that it kind of balances out with what they lost and what they acquired, and they're going to be a similar team this year as far as record-wise at the end of it all.
Joe?
Tennessee Titans, they're a good team, but they're not a great team, right? And I think we're all assuming that. They still have a lot of good question marks on that defensive side of the ball. One thing that I like is they have the weapons, right? We already know they have the offensive weapons. But I'm not sold on their offensive coordinator. I don't know about you guys. They promoted their tight end coach, Todd Downing, right? He's now the tight end coach. I remember him because I'm a Raider fan. And in a couple of years ago, he was the next up-and-coming offensive coordinator. He was supposed to be the young guy that brought it. He was handed the 6th best offense in the NFL, turned into the 18th best offense the next year under him. Maybe that was just a one-time thing, and maybe that was just the Raiders. I don't know. But he still leaves a little bit of that sour taste in my mouth, if you want to put it that way. I shouldn't say that way, but that's the way I'm going to say it. So you can go ahead and cut that any way you guys want. But I don't know. I'm not. That's the one person I'm not sold on is the offensive coordinator, and I'm worried about it.
Raiders.
When you look at this offense, should they put up points? Hell yes, they should put up points. The Tennessee Titans should be a good team. I'm just not. I don't see it because every year we're talking about them, and every year they do the same. They're just a boring team. I would say. And are you guys trusting Ryan Tannehill? Is like Ryan Tannehill your top guy now? Like, is he an elite? Should we put him in elite quarterback status?
No.
Like, we are sold on to Ryan Tannehill because of what he's done the last year and a half.
So this isn't part of bold prediction week or whatever we're doing, highlighted players, but Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys. If he gets hot at the beginning of the year, 5-6 weeks in, they're going to be talking is Ryan Tannehill now a top 5 quarterback? Is he in the It will happen, and he has that potential. If Julio can be healthy, they can all get on the same page with that running game. He's going to be able to put up, just because with Julio and A.J. Brown, and then the guy that I'm going to mention as my highlighted player, like, I think that this offense can actually put up a lot of points and Ryan Tannehill is going to be that guy. And he can move with his feet and scramble and pick up yards. So he could have like a big year. Again, to me, it's always about the playoffs and how you do at that point. And I just need to see him go that next level at that stage. But there will be a hype train for Ryan Tannehill, I believe, at about week 5-6 into this season. Like, he's going to be putting up some crazy numbers.
We are not giving Julio the all-time great wide receiver hype that he deserves. This man is going to be their wide receiver too, and I say that because A.J. Brown is phenomenal, and I think he's going to be phenomenal next year. Their wide receiver two is probably the best wide receiver two of all time. I don't know if I could think of a better wide receiver two. Maybe Roddy White behind Julio Jones way back in the day. This is some kind of, or maybe a Chris Carter, Randy Moss. Like, that's what I would compare this wide receiver duo to.
I got a good one for you, and this is going to make Joe happy. Jerry Rice and Tim Brown.
I knew it. Ooh, I freaking knew it.
Tim Brown was a beast.
Yeah. And this wide receiver duo is on that level of some of these all-time wide receiver duos. Barring health, this should be a top 5 offense next year. But my question is, defensively, can they stop teams? Can they rush the quarterback? Can Bud Dupree be alone on a defensive line and get the consistent pressure on the quarterback, as well as the run stop game? They lost Rashad Evans, I believe, as well. Who's going to be making the tackles in the run game? And then in the secondary, they lose Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson on this defense was not good enough to be a CB1. You think Janoris Jenkins or Caleb Farley is going to come in and be a true cornerback one? They downgraded the defense to make this offense superhuman. And while I think, in my opinion, defense no longer wins championships, elite offense with average to slightly above average defense wins championships. Their defense, I think, is going to be piss poor, in my opinion. So anytime they see another team with a good defense, a defense that can at least slow the offense down, I do not know if they're going to be able to stay in those games because they're still going to lean on Derrick Henry. He's Derrick Henry.
Yep. And he's going to have some space to operate.
Well,
he is.
What has shut down the Titans in the past? When they bring in a good defense that shuts down Derrick Henry, and that's with A.J. Brown, and you can bring in Julio Jones, and you got to hope that he's going to play the whole season. You got to hope that he's still going to be the Julio Jones that we all know, and there's nothing that says he won't be. That offensive line is kind of scary to me, right? Yeah. That offensive line is, I mean, I'm going to tell you that I like the Texans offensive line better than I like the Titans offensive line.
They're close. They're close.
Yeah, you might be cutting it there, but that, like you said, that defense, we've seen it where people have good offenses and they still lose games because they're losing 34-30 in a shootout. If your defense isn't stopping anybody, it doesn't matter how good your offense is.
They've only got one player on that entire defense that's going to make an impact, and the rest of the levels, other than the safety that they have, is going to really struggle, and that'll get us into the highlight players. Alex Robson's joining us. What's up, Robson? We're going into highlight players. You're last in line, so just sit back there and wait for your turn.
Hi, Tony Tucker.
How are you, brother?
I'm good.
Highlight players for the Titans this year who we want to talk about. I like this lineup.
This is a good one, and I love the range of players that we have here. I'm going with the guy who's replacing Johnny Smith. Like, Johnny Smith has been very productive there. Before him, I believe it was Delaney Walker, right? Like, there's always kind of been production from this position over the past few years. And I think that Firkser is a guy that can sort of step in right away and be able to operate. Just like I think that Henry's going to have space. I also believe that there can be a lot of space for this guy. If he's getting a lot of linebacker coverage, because you need to pay attention to two superhuman wide receivers, I think that this guy could be, I know we're not talking fantasy, but it's stealing fantasy, but in real life football, he could be dangerous, especially in the red zone. If you're paying attention to one of those two other guys and you have to keep people there to try and stop Derrick Henry, this guy could have monster numbers all across the board.
Yeah, I love that pick, Tony. And he's like the only weapon on this offense that's not like a former Pro Bowler or doesn't have any kind of credibility to him. So he's going to see the weaker coverage, and he's going to see people basically underestimate him, trying to lock up Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. Again, that's ridiculous. I'm going with Kevin Byard. Just referenced him a second ago. I think that this defense, like I said, is going to be the difference between this being a AFC championship contending team and a first-round exit team based on how decent this defense can get. They just need to get to decent and keep Julio and Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown healthy. I think Byard's a big part of that. He's going to be the captain of this defense. He's going to be flying around making plays, and he's really the only guy that I think I can sit back and say, I trust this guy next year for the Titans defense.
Joe, only guy that you could trust.
Yeah, I mean, Bud Dupree is going to have to pass rush like he did good last year, but I'm not sure how he's going to do alone on that defensive line. We saw Jadeveon Clowney separating from J.J. Watt, separating from good defensive line to this bad one, and Jadeveon Clowney didn't do a damn thing in run stop, in pass rush, and nothing.
You think Deion Sanders knows his name now?
Possibly.
Was it Deion Sanders that got into it with Kevin Byard? He was like, you're not even in the NFL. When you get in the NFL, let me know. And he's like, I am in the NFL. I've been here for a couple of years.
Yeah, Byard's a top 10 safety.
Yeah, 100%. He's actually really good. So I'll get into mine. My guy is probably, you might know him, you might not know him. He's coming from the Rams. He was signed before the Julio Jones trade. He was over here to be the second guy to A.J. Brown. His name is Josh Reynolds. He's been the third wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams for the last couple of years. So when Cooper Kupp went down, when Robert Woods was out for his things, this is the guy that stepped up. Last year he had 52 receptions, 618 yards, only 2 touchdowns. He needs to hold on to the ball. But what makes a team now, especially in an offensive league, like we're saying, this is now an offensive league, what makes it is that third wide receiver. You saw it last year in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had all those wide receivers, but who was the main guy? Scotty Miller making the big plays. When they needed it, who made the play? Scotty Miller. That's what I hope to see from Josh Reynolds. I've been in his corner since the Rams did that big Super Bowl run a couple years ago. I like what he has. He has a lot of potential. He just needs to hold on to the damn ball.
Finally, I get to talk. I'm not used to waiting to talk because I'm a big talker. But I am going with Julio Jones. Why am I going with Julio Jones? A man whose legacy is defined by being one of the best wide receivers consistently in the NFL. My reason is because recently his health has been a question mark far too often. The Titans made a big move getting Julio Jones, a power move, if you will. Now you got a dynamic trio of offensive weapons. You have A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, who we know we're going to get production out of. But now you go out and you get a freak athlete in Julio Jones. But is it going to matter if Julio Jones can't stay healthy? If he can't stay healthy, what does it matter, this trade? In my opinion, Julio Jones has something to prove. And it's to prove that he can stay on the field for the Tennessee Titans and keep this offense consistent.
Okay. All right. I like the angle you took because at first I was like, wow, way to venture out on that limb for future Hall of Famer Julio Jones. But I like the angle that you spun it. I think that's good. And I would like to see that. I always root for health because I want to see the best of the best knock each other out. Shout out to another great 80s movie right there.
I'm Alex Robson, and I'm taking Julio Jones.
I know. I'm a basic white boy. I know.
Well, Joe, let's make fun of Joe's pick real quick. I want to highlight this guy who came to be number 2. He doesn't need to hang on to the ball. What's the number 1 title in his job description? Receiver, to receive the ball. Well, he needs to hang on to the football. I don't know. I'd work on that.
Okay, but I took this as players, like not highlighted players, but players to watch. Yeah. Like who to watch from this team. Like if the Titans want to go from being an average, okay, good team to an elite team, this is one of the guys. Josh Reynolds is one of the guys that needs to pick it up, and if he picks it up, maybe they have a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah. Maybe. Also, if Julio does deal with any kind of injury issues, Reynolds is next.
Yeah,
Reynolds is next.
I agree. It's a very solid number 3 to have. Same old, giving some love to Alex's monologue. Yeah, I agree. He at the beginning he lost me, but he brought it back around. Right where I wanted it to go. Speaking of bringing things back around, Frank Reich brought his quarterback from his time in Philadelphia, Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts this offseason. And to me, this is one of the biggest things that I'm ready to watch. Like, my prediction could have been completely different if I just had a little more faith in Carson Wentz, because I really think that the talent and ability is there. But let's just hand things over to Mike, break down this offseason departures and additions.
Yeah, a little bit of an empty graphic here. They made some big moves, not a bunch of moves. Not high quality, no quantity. Came in second last year due to the tiebreaker. Lost in the first round. A very good game against the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you guys remember that game. Phillip Rivers in the fourth quarter trying to throw everything he's got left in that cannon. Future Hall of Famer Phillip Rivers retired as one of their departures this last year. And then another possible Hall of Famer, Anthony Costanzo, he also retired. He's been a Colt forever. They lose their safety, Malik Hooker. He's just a guy that never reached his ceiling. I've always been so high on Malik Hooker, and it just seems like his injuries over the past couple of years have pretty much killed his career. He's not even signed right now, guys, which is kind of shocking because a couple of years ago, Malik Hooker was one of the up-and-coming safeties in this league. And then their backup quarterback, who probably would have filled in for Rivers if they hadn't gotten Wentz, Jacoby Brissett, is a Miami Dolphin. So that way in the fourth quarter when he needs to bail out Tua, he can come in the game. When we go to key additions, obviously the Carson Wentz trade got him for damn near nothing. I think that the third-round pick turns into a first if he performs well and meets some certain metrics. But as of right now, a third-round pick for a possibly franchise quarterback if he can come through. And then they picked up Malik Jefferson. I just put him on here. His last couple of years have been injury-filled and rough. But at one point, he was a young guy that people looked out for. So maybe he can make an impact now here on this already very good defense as a depth piece. And then the big one, Eric Fisher is coming in to replace Costanzo on that offensive line at tackle.
And let me correct Mike real quick on Malik Hooker. He has signed a deal with the Dallas Cowboys.
When?
Today.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think that the news broke that he was working on a deal or close to finalizing a deal last time I saw it. But yeah. Let's get some thoughts. We'll shake it up a little bit. Let's get some thoughts from Robson on the Colts real quick. Where are you at with this team?
Shaking it up.
Shaking it up, Joe Morley.
Shake it up.
Save that for the OnlyFans, Joe Morley. I know you got one.
Oh, mine is on fire right now.
I'm sure. Anyway, my thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts. I really, really like them coming into this year. They have a great defense already. I mean, it was, top 5 last year in terms of everything? Like, they were a very, very good defense. And then you add in a guy that I believe got screwed by the Philadelphia Eagles, turning into probably the most incompetent franchise in the NFL right now, without things have turned around so quickly for them. Not even that long ago, they were winning Super Bowl. And now all of a sudden, we're talking about them potentially tanking for Spencer Rattler at quarterback. It is crazy how things have turned around so poorly for the Eagles, and I think Carson Wentz was a victim of a bad situation. Now he gets Frank Reich back. He's in a new building. I really think this will be a massive resurgence from Carson Wentz. I am talking maybe MVP level return because I adore the ability of Carson Wentz. And we talk about his injury a lot, and I understand that he has not looked the same since. But that neither has that offense been the same since because they did nothing to improve really that team. They kept the same weapons around him. They get old, and they just kept getting hurt. Not to mention they were making terrible decisions with the guys they picked to try and replace those guys. They picked, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. They picked Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. You do it twice in 2 years, back-to-back years. You pick the wrong rookie receiver. They have failed Carson Wentz, in my opinion. And I think Carson Wentz is going to show every Philadelphia Eagle fan, everyone in that organization, why they messed up so bad. And he's going to have a massive resurgence. And in my opinion, the Colts are the favorite in the NFC in this division.
Thank you, Tony, for saying that because he's over here talking about Carson Wentz not having a great opportunity and being failed by an organization, but he's a Jets fan that hates Sam Darnold that did the same exact thing to Sam Darnold, but we won't get into that because
we're getting into that. We're getting into that now. Hold the hell up. I'm not going to let we're getting into that. We're getting into that, Joe Morgan Sports. We're going to get into that.
30 seconds.
The situations are completely different. Carson Wentz thrived in the system at one point. Sam Darnold sucked from minute one. From minute one, he was horrible. Why you people still defend him? I don't get it. What has he shown? What has he shown? I know the Jets didn't do him any favors, but he was horrible. Get it out of your head that something's going to magically change now that he's in Carolina. Just get it out of your head. It ain't happening.
I'm just saying, take all those excuses used for Carson Wentz, throw it behind Sam Darnold's name, and we got the same conversation.
All right.
Now-
I'll talk about Carson Wentz. Completely different direction. All right. Carson Wentz this year, and the biggest thing for him, this is why I don't know how he's going to adjust. And I think the Colts are going to be a very good team, but this is why I don't know how he's going to adjust, because he has to go from playing some of the most Superman quarterback ball that we saw last year in the NFL, other than possibly Deshaun Watson. It's hard to give a take when you're all dying of laughter about Sam Darnold. So I'll let you guys go ahead. Get it out the way.
I'm sorry.
The GOAT.
Continue.
We're going to talk
Continue,
about
Mike.
the East and
Continue.
the other South. Anyway, he's going from having to play complete Superman ball to the absolute opposite. And this is why I don't like the MVP take, Alex.
There it comes. Bring it in.
He's
Sam
gonna
Darnold.
he's gonna be handing this ball off to Jonathan Taylor. If the Colts want to win football games and win this division, Jonathan Taylor and defense. That's what's gonna do it for him. It's not gonna be Carson Wentz win an MVP award. He has to go from Superman ball, make dumb plays, throw balls up for grabs because you're down by 14 points with 4 minutes left in the game, to preserve a lead at the end of a game and not take big risk and not turn the ball over. So it's a big difference for him. And I think that he could figure it out. Frank Reich's had it before. He knows how to use them.
I agree with that take, Mike, because one of the problems I had with Carson Wentz and why I'm not a little more, I guess bullish would be the right word, on their chances this year is that I don't know if he's going to play within the offense and make the checkdowns and not taking sacks. Like, whenever I watch him, I'm always like, dude, get rid of the football. What do you help yourself out a little bit, like make smarter plays. I think he has a good relationship with Frank, and that will help. Should we get into our highlighted players here?
Okay. Yeah,
what if I wanted to talk about the Indianapolis Colts?
Dak played a couple games. You talked about him. You did enough stir in the pot, Joe Morley. Tony Tucker, Michael Pittman's the guy you chose.
Yes, sir. Michael Pittman Jr. He had the early injury. He played well and then had the early injury in the season and then came back and played well again. I do think that his ability can be a little bit more on display with somebody who's still young and has arm talent and can move outside the pocket and isn't essentially, a high school football coach. Future Hall of Famer. I love Phillip Rivers. He would be in my Hall of Fame, but he just didn't have enough left to really take advantage. I almost picked T.Y. Hilton. I want to see if he has enough gas left because T.Y. Hilton, he's a burner. If he can still run, Wentz can fling it, and he could have been a highlighted player. But I like the young talent matched up with Carson Wentz, so I went with Michael Pittman Jr.
I like it. He's got a great YouTube channel, too, if you guys want to go check it out. Him and Justin Herbert happen to be really good friends. Maybe we'll see a pairing up in Los Angeles in the future. I chose No. I chose Jonathan Taylor because, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Taylor's and what he did last year, especially towards the end of the year. Jonathan Taylor is the next 5-tool running back in this league. Jonathan Taylor is going to be in conversations after this year with Saquon Barkley, with Christian McCaffrey, with Derrick Henry, with all those guys at the top of the league in the running back category. He's going to go from that second tier to an elite running back this year, in my opinion. And without him, the Colts offense will be in a little bit of trouble because, like you said, Carson Wentz is a little risky when you get him on the move. Who knows what he's going to do with the football? Joe Morley went with offensive line.
Yes, I did, because this guy's coming in from the Chiefs. He didn't play last year in the Super Bowl. Eric Fisher, first-round draft pick, right? Coming over, taking over the left tackle spot from the newly retired Anthony Costanzo. So he's gone. Now they got the new offensive tackle. They need him to stay healthy. They need him to help out Carson Wentz, who was very disrespected in the Philadelphia organization. So they built that offensive line around him. And this is the guy that's going to be protecting Carson Wentz and making Carson Wentz look good when he throws those passes to your guy, Tony Tucker, Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, Eric Fisher is kind of gonna make our 2 highlight players do well. Alex, Jonathan Taylor, I cut it short so I could just feed you. You can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you kind of stole my thunder there a little bit, but I understand. You and I think are very much alike because we're smart people, Mike, on the mic. Jonathan Taylor had a great rookie year, in my opinion, and he has every single tool you want out of a running back. Year 2, I'm expecting the hyper leap, as I like to call it. The leap that comes out of absolutely nowhere, where he goes from about a tier 2, tier 3 guy, I think, to maybe one of the best running backs in the NFL. He has all the tools. He has the offensive line. He has the incredible talent. He has the breakaway speed. Jonathan Taylor, it is time to solidify yourself as the best in the business, or one of, anyway.
You want it? You want the bold take right here on the air?
Go ahead.
2,000 total yards, 12 plus total touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor this year.
You're not scared of Marlon Mack. You're not scared of Hines. You're not scared of Wilkins still being there in that backfield. I'm not saying nothing bad about Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying I've seen this offense before, and I've seen the running back committee, and it kind of scares me a little bit on Jonathan Taylor.
Well, you look at other running back rooms. Every single team has other running backs. Saquon's got Wayne Gallman. Zeke's got Tony Pollard. But I expect Marlon Mack to become Wayne Gallman and Tony Pollard in this offense. Yes, they're going to get touches.
He went to Wayne Gallman.
That good.
You could have used like the Browns. You could have been like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Like there's running back with Wayne Gallman.
I'm trying to say that Jonathan Taylor is an elite running back. Are you worried about Wayne Gallman taking carries from Saquon? I'm not worried about
not this
Mack.
year because Wayne Gallman has been wearing red.
I'm not talking about it. I'm not worried about Marlon Mack taking anything from Jonathan.
I get you. It's the James Hasty or whatever that guy's name is in San Francisco.
Bad delivery. We won't clip that one.
I know. I like it. I like where you went, where you eventually ended up. I definitely get it. All right. So we've gone through all 4 teams, all of our highlighted players.
I could have selected Mo Alley Cox.
Mo Alley Cox.
Greatest name ever.
It is. It's such a great name. I want him to blow up this year.
Here's the moment. Here's the moment.
Mike didn't even talk about Kwity Paye, the new defensive end, the guy that you loved during the draft. He's on the Colts. Nothing.
The guy the Raiders passed on for Alex Leatherwood.
You go with Jonathan Taylor, who everybody goes, I know one guy on the Colts, Jonathan Taylor.
This is a category where I get to choose a player that I want to talk about and highlight. Not that Joe Morley gets to choose. Not that Alex Robson gets to choose.
Well, you and Alex.
I get to choose. Yeah. I chose Jonathan Taylor.
Mike, you and I did kind of pick the same player. So.
You chose Eric Fisher.
You're welcome.
You did kind of choose.
He's one of the best tackles. One of the best tackles of this generation. I don't want to hear it. Let's talk about predictions, Tony.
Let's get into the predictions. I'm not sure how you want me to start with mine, and we'll show the graphic because then that'll kind of be a spoiler because we'll see everybody else. Okay, let's just throw them all up there. Yeah. Love this. This is a great plan. I'll start from the bottom. I have the Texans regressing because I just believe that it's going to be a mess all season long, dealing with what they're doing with Deshaun Watson. What's he going to do? Because he's now reporting because he doesn't want to miss out on $50,000 or whatever it is. Well, what about game checks? Isn't he going to want to at least like get there and be like, hey, I need to be paid. Somebody needs to do something with me, or the league needs to suspend me, or blah, 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 whatever needs to happen. So I have them winning 3 games. I did that out of respect because I do think Tyrod Taylor is a good player. I'll move on to the Jaguars. 5-12. I think the Jaguars are going to be in a lot of close games, but losing late. I'm interested to see how good the defense is and how good of a coach Urban Meyer can be at this level. I like a lot of this young talent, and we've seen what young, like the rookie quarterbacks that come in, they're so smart and so well prepared, just so much further ahead than they were even 5 years ago. And I think that will be the Tevor Lawrence factor there, them getting 5 wins. And then we go to the top of the division for me. Colts, Titans, it's neck and neck. Like I said, if I could trust Carson Wentz a little bit more to know that he's just going to play within the offense and do the right things, I would probably have the Colts 12.5 wins, 13 wins, somewhere in there. but I like the additions of the Titans. I just don't trust the defense over there. And at some point, end of the season, they're going to need to get wins ugly, and I just don't know if they'll be able to get those ugly wins like the Colts will. So given a little bit of a tiebreaker edge, I got the Colts winning this division 11-6.
I like it, Tony. I'll go next to keep the order going the same so we don't get confusions. Joe Morley, mute your microphone. And here we go. We got the Texans at 1-16. I'm going to say this, right? I wanted to give the Texans 3 wins also, Tony Tucker. But when I sat down and looked at the schedule, this division plays the worst schedule to be a stinky team in the NFL. They're going to see the NFC West. They're going to see the NFC South. I think they play a couple teams from the AFC West. They seem to play all the playoff contenders except for when the Texans and Jaguars play each other. So I don't know. I could not find wins in their schedule. I had a hard time doing it, so I went ahead and gave them the 1-16. Call it what you want. You see some other 1-16s on here from our other hosts of other shows. And with the Jaguars, I'm putting some faith in the Tevor Lawrence that they improved 6x from last year, from 1 win to 6 wins. 6-11, I think, will be a very successful year for this Jacksonville unit, a big step forward. I actually had them starting off 2-0. But I don't think they have a complete team enough to even try and make a run at a wild card. And once they get into the meat of their schedule, they're going to struggle. I'm interested, and these games are going to be fun. Jaguars versus Texans. And I want to highlight another one. Thursday Night Football, I think week 4 is Tevor Lawrence versus Joe Burrow. So that's going to be a fun one. Then I got the Titans finishing second. I just feel like the Colts are a better, more all-around team. That Titans offense is much better than the Colts offense, yes, but the Colts defense is also much better than the Titans defense. I think that the Colts are just a better, more all-around team than the Tennessee Titans, which gives them 1 more win and the W. Joe.
Now I can unmute mine. Now I can go.
Finally,
I can go. I'm going with the Colts because, like you said, we all like the Colts just a little bit more than the Titans. I don't know about Alex, but I do. I'm going with that defense. Offense, and your guy, Jonathan Taylor, should be able to carry them a little bit more. The Titans defense is what's scaring me. I actually gave both teams 1 more win than I was originally thinking of. I was going to put them both probably at 10-7, but I was like, no, I'll give them an 11 because they might sneak up and get that 1. Jacksonville 4-13. I don't see much improvement there. I could see them going under that 4. The Texans 3-14. I was being generous, like Mike said. Mike, you gave them 1. I didn't want to go 1. I thought that was a little bit too low because like we said, Tony and I were high on Philip Lindsay, and we think he might be able to carry them to a couple wins. 3-14 is maybe that extra 17th game is what's making us give them the extra win, right? That 17th game, you have that extra opportunity to do it. So 3-14 is very generous for them, but I'm going with the Colts. I think they have enough.
I like it. Alex Robson, go.
Howdy. All righty. Well, I'll start from the top and move on to the bottom. I'll start with the Colts going 13-4 and winning the division. I have a lot of faith in Carson Wentz. If you haven't already been told already, there we go. English is hard. But I have a lot of faith in the duo of him and Jonathan Taylor creating a lightning offense to go along with their great defense. But right behind them, I got the Titans. I think the Titans have potential to sneak out in this division with the win or maybe even tie the Colts. But in the end, I got them at 12-5. The Jaguars at 4-13 now. I think it's going to be a good 4-13. Now, what do I mean by a good 4-13? I think they're going to be far more competitive than they were last year. I think they're going to be in a lot of the games that they play. But in the end, I just don't think they're ready to win a lot of games. So 4-13, I think, will be an improvement from the 1 win last year. And now I got to talk about the Texans. I missed my opportunity to talk about the Texans earlier because I was at work. But now I'm here. You all are being generous when you say that you're talking about them having 1 win or anything like that. You're being generous with 3. They are lucky to get 1 from me because who in the blue hell is worth anything on this football team? They are terrible. Deshaun Watson's probably not even going to play. I understand he's going to report to camp, but he's not going to play when the season comes around. He's not going to play. He's going to demand a trade. He's going to not be there. So who the hell is worth anything on that football team? The team itself sucks. They have a terrible name, the Houston Texans. What the hell? I mean, that's the most uncreative thing I've ever heard in my life. We know you're from Texas. You don't have to call yourself the Houston Texans. That's so stupid. They have horrible ownership, horrible management from the GM. Their coach is going to stink up the joint. Getting 1 win from me should be considered a blessing. Because good God Almighty, there is not one player on this team worth a single fart. They are terrible. Or as Charles Barkley would say, they're terrible. They're just terrible. So 1 win from me, Houston. Congratulations. That's going to be a success. Have fun with Spencer Rattler or Sam Howell or whoever the hell you draft.
Alex, I have a question. I have a
Yes,
big
sir.
question. What
Yes,
would
sir.
you say to someone who predicts the Texans to win 6
No,
games?
you did it. You just stole it from me, Mike.
If you knew somebody that said the Texans were going to get 6 wins, what would you say to their face?
What would I say to their face?
Yeah, well, not maybe not to their face, but just online in a form in a setting like we're in right now. What would you say to that person?
A safe amount of distance away because this person might be a large man. But go ahead.
Just 6
Be a
wins.
large man. Is it Jay the Plug? Did you give him 6 wins?
Why did you step on it, Mike?
Jay the Plug, what in the blue hell are you thinking? I'm sorry, Jay. I just had you in my recent episode. I absolutely love you, man. Go-to guy for anything fantasy related. But what weeds you smoking, homie? Come on, man. There is nothing. If they win 6 games, I will dance around Radford University stockballing naked. I swear to God. There's no way they win 6 games. No way.
Clip that. Clip it.
I don't think.
Clip it.
Hey, Alex, I'm with you. When I saw Jay the Plug with 6 wins for the Houston Texans, I was like, this dude is just doing it for ratings. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Because it's how the hell do you look at this Houston Texans roster and go, that's a damn good team right there. 6 wins, put it on the board right now. With that coaching staff, amazing. Even with Deshaun Watson last year and a okay team, they won 4 games. But now you took away every damn – you can put the addition and departures back up, and you look at that. You took away every damn good player they had, and you go, 2 more wins, throw it on the board. It's good. They're better this year without J.J. Watt. They're better this year without Randall Cobb and the rest of these guys. Get them all out of here. Even if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, Tyrod Taylor, 6 wins, automatic.
The only way that happens and they win 6 games is if they sweep the Jaguars. Very unlikely. And they split with the other 2 teams. It's not happening. Jay, we need a reel. We need a short. We need something defending this point that makes some sense. Because
I assume that he has a job application in with the team.
Oh,
That's
maybe.
the only thing that makes sense is that he's waiting to hear back on whether or not he's going to become in like social media director or, something like that. It's the only thing that would make sense.
Mike
6
didn't
wins?
even believe it. When he made this graphic, he didn't even believe it. He still put Texans down below him. He's all 6 wins. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can still stay in the 4th spot.
I think what happened.
I wasn't putting in the legwork to switch those 2 for a terrible take. I was not doing it.
I think what might have happened is there could be a glitch. The 6 was supposed to be a 0, and the 1 was supposed to be a 7.
Yep.
Maybe
text. It wasn't written.
Maybe.
It wasn't scrabbled.
I don't know.
And Mike, you even said it there. They have to sweep the Jags and split with the other 2 teams. Even more than that, a portion of hell would have to freeze over for the Houston Texans to win 6 games. Again, Jay, I love you, man, but I understand you want to have the hot take, but that ain't the take to make hot. That's horrible. Come on, man. I mean, you're better than that.
I find myself rooting for the Texans. I don't know about anybody else.
After they get those 4 games, sweeping the Jags and beating the Titans and Colts once, they got to win 2 more to reach the 6 still.
Unless they were playing the Jets 6 times, there ain't no way they're getting 6 wins.
They're playing the Jets once. That one Jets game might be a 1 win for either team.
Guarantee half of you that have the 1 win have said it was going to be the Jets just because you'd like to annoy me.
Yeah, I think I had them over the Jets.
What I do with teams like this is I go with potential wins. And yes, that was one that was on there where I was like, they could win this game.
My 1 W that I have the Texans winning this year is over the Carolina Panthers. But we'll talk about that when the time comes for their division.
Yes. What is we almost hit our goal here of the hour mark for the show.
Under an hour, right? An hour. So we'll go over the Warzone Sports Network average. So what you see in the big box, everyone, is all of the teams averaged out. Everyone did their predictions. We have 9 people that participated. A couple more will participate in the next one. So this is the averages. We can kind of look at this. 11 wins for both the Titans and Colts. I'm a little higher than the average on the Colts. Alex is a little higher on the average than the Colts. The Titans need to be just about right, though. Everyone seems to kind of agree 10 or 11 wins, 12 at the most. And then the Jaguars and Texans, this 4 or 5 wins for the Jaguars and this 1 or 2 wins for the Texans is going to be a theme, I think, in any predictions that you see other than Jay the Plug.
Jay the Plug had the Titans at 13 wins, just to let you know.
Well, he has a lot of wins in this one division. Like, what's the bad division that he's going to give all the losses to? I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be perfectly balanced out, but very, very interesting to me right there. Who do we have? Do we have one coming up this Sunday?
Sunday, 3:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. We will be doing the AFC East.
Cannot wait for that.
You hear that, Robinson? AFC East.
This Sunday?
Yeah,
Yes.
what do you think about that?
I'll be there.
Get your players in to watch of
Guess
the AFC.
will also be there, Alex. Joseph Skirdo, fellow Jets fan, and
I look forward to
Kevin
that.
Piggy Bank Picks. I just committed him without asking him. Dolphins fans, y'all can go at it.
Oh
There
my
we go.
goodness.
AFC East this Sunday, 3:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. Be there for the AFC East breakdown, especially if you're a fan, and you can watch Alex Robinson cry and try to say how good his team is.
I cannot wait for what his prediction for his own Jets are going to be.
17-0. Zach Wilson, baby.
17-0.
Wall Street Wilson.
Goodness
Take us out of
gracious.
here, Tony. What do we got?
We have got, I don't know what we have. I don't know if we have anything tomorrow. I'm possibly thinking about starting the podcast on Friday. I'm going to talk to you guys more about that off air and what that will look like and what that's happening. What we got? Well, Friday Night Wars. You guys are back this week. You two bickering.
Unfortunately,
On Friday, Thursday. Do we have Pace League?
Pace League's dropping on Thursday. I believe it's
Coach
going
Jackson.
to be Hugh Jackson. Coach Hugh Jackson's the guest. Former
Hugh
Browns,
Jackson.
former Bengals, Raiders, right?
Hugh Jackson
fun
here on the
stuff.
Warzone Sports Network. That's pretty sweet.
I'm sleeping all day, Durka.
I love it.
Yeah, what has Jeffrey Simmons and Autry ever done to any D-lines?
I don't know.
Autry was
That
on
was-
the Raiders.
Yeah, their D-line was awesome, wasn't it? The whole defense helped out.
Yeah.
Got some help
Alex
from
Robinson,
Autry.
what do you got? Your last any thoughts?
Are you going to cut me
We
off?
on the
or-
radio, coming to your locale. Got into the third round, better bring the smoke now. Step into the war zone. Step into the war zone. Step into the war zone. Step into the war zone.